you swear him in? All rise for the jury, please. Okay, everybody can be seated. All right, members of the jury, the state's rested its case. I'll turn it over to the defense. Mr. Barnes, if you'll call your first witness. Eric Kuhn, Your Honor. All right, sir, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, sir, have a seat in the chair. Pull the chair as close to the microphone as you can. Speak loud enough into the microphone so that everybody can hear you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Barnes, you may proceed.
Thank you. Would you state your name?
Eric Jerome Joshua Kuhn.
And thanks for being here. We've asked you to come to this trial, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you flew down, I think, last night.
Yes, sir.
You live in,
Pennsylvania.
there you go. And how do you know Bree?
She's my younger sister.
And how old are you?
I'm 38.
Just briefly, did you guys like grow up together or separate, or talk about that dynamic a little bit?
We grew up together until I was in 9th grade, and then my sister moved to live with my dad.
Okay. Was there a time that you two became reunited in terms of living in the same place after that?
No.
Was there a point in time you moved to Texas with your sister?
We moved to Texas. She moved from Texas to New York with my dad. We lived in Pennsylvania together.
Yes, sir.
Moved to Texas together with our mom, and then she went from Texas to New York with my dad.
Was there any, and again briefly, was there any physical abuse at all in the family?
Yes, our mom was very abusive our entire childhood, even into adulthood.
Was she ever physically abusive to Bree?
Yes.
Okay.
Terribly.
And to yourself?
Oh, yes.
What role, if any, did Bree play in being the big sister? With regard to your...
Well, she was the little sister, but
Sorry.
I would always go along to get along. I figured if I kept my mouth shut, it wouldn't last nearly as long. My sister would even try to defend me and yell at my mom saying, "Why are you hitting him?" And then she would get hit very bad as well for trying to protect me.
Was Bree a protector of yours, for lack of a better word, in that dynamic?
Yes, she's a little sister only by age.
Yes, sir. Now, obviously, you guys grow up and people live in different places and so forth. Did you stay in touch?
Yes.
Phone calls?
Phone calls, text messages, social media, but we would even visit. Sometimes I was at her graduation from boot camp in Chicago. I went and visited her while she was in advanced individual training in San Antonio. She's lived several places with the Navy. I have visited a couple of them to see her.
When is the last time that you saw Bree, other than right now, obviously?
We had gone on a trip to the bungalows in Key Largo in Florida about 1 to 2 years before this incident occurred.
And who was on that trip?
It was me, Bree, and Colin.
Is there any reason you were, well, did they invite you?
Yes, I was given a couple of reasons. One is Colin was in school, so he was studying quite a bit. So they thought that if he was studying, I could hang out with my sister so she wasn't alone. If she wanted to rest or recoup, I could hang out with him if he wasn't studying. And then they also, both of them at separate times and together, told me that they were having marital issues and they thought a third person might help what they were working on together.
Yes, sir. Did you notice any physical abuse on that trip? At least, obviously, in front of you?
No, not that I saw, sir.
Okay. Did you learn anything about Colin that you didn't know on that trip?
Yes, sir.
What did you learn?
It was in my deposition, but I know he told me that the reason him and Bree got along very well is that they were both psychopaths and narcissists. He seemed to think that was entertaining, I believe. I know we would talk about, I would go to the gym at that place, and he would talk to me about like steroids and supplements and things like that, which I didn't.
Your Honor, I'm going to object for relevance.
Sustained.
Fair enough. We can move along.
Yes, sir.
So you go back to, at that time, still in Pennsylvania, I guess?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Bree goes back wherever she is, and you guys continue to have conversations?
Here and there, yes, sir.
Okay. Did Bree ever tell you anything about her marriage or about Colin that would be noteworthy? How they were getting along, any problems, anything like that?
Yes, sir. It seemed like that trip didn't help much. They were still having really bad issues, and I came to learn how far they went later on as well.
And did your sister, if you could tell, was she depressed about that, upset about that? I mean, I'm sure she wasn't happy about it.
No, she was highly depressed, sir. In fact, I do know she tried to kill herself. I was with her on the phone, and I had even called Colin to tell him this is what she's doing. She's in the house, and he couldn't care less. I actually had to call the medics to tell them to go to the house for her, pump her stomach.
Let me back you up a bit, but then we can talk about that a little bit more. Now, I guess as the big brother, even though she's the de facto or de jure big sister, if you will, did you ever give her any advice in terms of what she should do when she's telling you this stuff about the marriage and she's depressed? And did you ever tell her, like, just leave?
Yes.
And did she?
No, she was quite scared, not for herself, but for her kids.
Is that what she reported to you, or you just assumed that?
No, she told me that.
Okay. Now, again, we're not going to spend a bunch of time on it because you just talked about it. But you were on the phone with your sister when she was about to commit suicide or trying to commit suicide?
Yes, sir.
What did you learn on the phone about that in terms of how she was trying to do it or you know, why or anything else about it?
There were multiple reasons as to the why. The how was, she had told me she had taken all of her prescription medications and a lot of alcohol together and then went into a closet. And the why was she was unhappy in the marriage. She wanted to leave, but she was petrified that she wouldn't be able to get custody of the kids. My understanding from my conversations with her was Colin had a family with access to wealth, that he could have hired lawyers and things like that, where she didn't have the same access, so she didn't know what her odds were of getting the children.
And when this, you know, is happening, and were you? You're on the phone with her. She's telling you she just did this. What did you do in response to any emergent reaction?
I called Colin. He was in the home with her.
And did he know what was going on
Yes.
in terms of the Bree's suicidal attempt in,
Yes.
you know, real time?
Mm-hmm.
That's a yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And what did he say about it? What was he doing about it?
Absolutely nothing.
I mean, did you say, dude, you got to call EMS? I mean, my sister's she's. I mean, did you react that way or?
I didn't say my sister. I said your wife. I thought reminding him might help.
And did you disengage the phone call and it was your opinion that he wasn't going to do anything?
It was my opinion he was going to let her die.
Okay. Did he flat out say, no, I'm not calling EMS?
Yes.
And you get off the phone with him, who calls EMS, if you know?
Me.
Okay. Now, the day of the shooting, did Bree call you that day?
Multiple times, sir.
And what was the general nature of those calls, if you can tell us?
I would say anxiety and fear. She had had a surgery scheduled for many months, and I guess they were having she told me they were having a dispute that day that if she went to have the surgery, he was gonna kidnap the children and she would never see them again. So she was asking me if I could come down, not to be with her, but to be with the kids while she had the surgery so that he couldn't take them away from her. Then she would call again and say that they were discussing it and he would watch them and wouldn't take them. And then it seemed like they had been having an argument all day about this and he was going back and forth on what would happen.
Were the calls mixed in with, you know, hey, how's the weather? I saw a good movie last night, or were they all in relation to what was going on between them and the
No,
kids?
this was a very important issue. There was no, common conversation in between. It was her medical well-being. The surgery wasn't for appearance or anything. It was for her health and then the well-being of her children.
And at any point that day, did you intentionally talk to Colin?
No, sir.
Did your sister tell you he's not going to take, he was going to take care of her at all when she has the surgery and her recovery? Or in other words, did he care about that at all? Did you know anything about that?
No, the end result prior to the shooting was if she had the surgery for her health, he was going to take the kids, go to his parents' house, and she would never see them again.
Yes, sir. Now, the final call, you actually, and we're going to work up towards it, but the call, you actually heard the shots, correct?
Yes, sir.
And tell the jury what was the length of that call.
It was several minutes, sir. It was quite some time we were on the phone.
Was it like 45 minutes?
I would say so, sir.
And what are you hearing during that time?
In my sister's voice, utter fear. And then I heard a lot of discourse, Colin screaming, things being hit. At one point, he was on the phone with the police, I believe, trying to tell them that my sister was doing something, and she was on the phone with me.
Did you ever hear Colin make any threats or raise his voice or anything of that nature?
I did hear his voice raised a few times, yes, and I did hear at some point children crying.
And there was were you aware of a point in time when Bree got a gun? Were you aware of that?
I don't believe that. Yeah, I believe she grabbed the gun, and I said, just get out of the house, get out of the house, and she said they kill the kid. She couldn't.
And was there a point in time where you heard, like, did she say, oh, he's hurting me, or he kicked me, or?
Oh, yes, I heard slamming. She did say that. She was even telling him, why are you doing this? And then she screamed that, ow, and at another point, the phone fell to the ground, and I heard a scuffle.
Did you hear your sister say, you're not taking the fucking kids?
She said, you're not taking them, and she said, you're not killing them.
Okay. And then she gets the gun, correct?
I would believe so, yes, sir.
I'm going to object for speculation.
Restate your question.
Are you aware, like what you heard earlier, you said that you knew she went and got a gun, right? Mm-hmm. And then I brought you to the kicking and the struggles and so forth in the aisle, and hitting the floor and all that. Was that before or after you realized she got a gun?
Before.
All those struggles were before?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay, so now she's got the gun, and you're...
Again, I'm going to object for speculation.
City approach.
Yes, sir.
I need to do a better job of like a timeline a little bit here.
Yes, sir.
First, how were you aware that your sister got a gun? Did she tell you?
I believe she did. I believe she said that's how she was going to protect the kids.
And
at that point, I was begging her to just get out of the house, but she kept saying, the kids, the kids, the kids.
now again, this is a 45-minute call. We get to a point where you hear indicators of a struggle in the aisle and the throwing around and so forth. How long after that do you believe your sister got the gun? And if you know.
Immediately. Okay. She was thrown to the ground, and he was grabbing the kids because I heard the kids yelling.
I'm going to object to speculation.
Sustain the objection.
And then we end up, what happens next? Or what do you hear next?
The shots.
Prior to the shots going off, did you hear your sister say anything?
She kept saying that he was not going to kill the kids. And the kids were crying.
And obviously you're not there. You hear the shots. Did you say anything after that?
I was crying and yelling, "Oh my God," and she told me, I killed him, I have to call the cops," and hung up. I tried calling her back, there was no answer. Then I called my father.
One second, yeah. That'd have been fun. No further questions.
Mr. Alderman, cross-examination?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can this, oh, you do have cross-examination?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Kuhn.
Good afternoon, sir.
So I want to touch on this trip that you and your sister took to Key Largo, was it?
With Colin.
Yes, and you're there for approximately a week, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you never, as you said, you never saw any physical abuse during that time, did you?
No, sir.
Did you suspect any physical abuse?
No, sir.
You never suspected anything other than the marital issues? You never suspected any kind of physical abuse, domestic abuse, rape, anything, did you?
No, sir.
And you thought Colin was a nice guy, didn't you?
I had some qualms after he told me that he believed himself to be a psychopath, but that was it. I thought it made...
Do you remember previously? Well, let's talk about that, the psychopath. He makes a comment, we're both psychopaths, and then he and we both laugh, don't they?
At the time they were together, he made it other times as well, alone.
Okay, and they both laughed when he said it when they were together?
Oh, when they were together, yes.
So they both laughed and agreed they're both psychopaths?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that comment, that's the worst thing you saw and heard during that time together? I mean, is that
Worse, no. My sister confided in me about what the issues were at home, but none of them involved the other things you mentioned.
Right, they were marital issues, right? It comes to chores.
Yes, sir.
And she had told you she was stressed about that she was working and was financially responsible, correct?
Yes, sir.
Those kind of marital issues.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And up until the day Colin was murdered, you never had any reason to suspect anything untoward in terms of a physical nature, did you?
No, sir.
Now, you mentioned about talking to your sister several times that day, correct? And that there was issues about the surgery, and I believe you had said that Colin had made a comment about kidnapping the kids.
Yes, sir.
Was he going to kidnap the kids, or was he refusing to watch the kids, according to Bree?
I don't know that the phrase kidnap was used. It was that he was going to take the kids to his parents if she had the surgery.
Okay. So he wasn't refusing to watch them?
He was saying he would take them and she would never see them again.
Okay. Do you remember being interviewed by the police?
Excuse me?
Do you remember being interviewed by the police?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And on September 24th?
I wouldn't know the date, sir, but I remember they flew up to Pennsylvania.
And was that a close in time to time of the murder?
I want to say it was within a week, sir.
Okay. And you they interviewed you about what had happened, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You want to approach the witness?
You may.
I-
That's got to be Mr. Barnes.
I whispered it.
All right. Mr. Alderman?
Question was about whether Colin was watching the kids, or kidnapping the kids, or refusing to watch the kids, was the question.
Okay. You may continue.
Mr. Kuhn, and I'm on page 5. I want you to read this to yourself, lines 15 through 21.
I'm sorry, Mark, is that the interview or the depot?
Page 5. And just look up at me when you're done.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does that help refresh your memory as to what Bree was telling you about the kids?
What I said was accurate. She said he was going to take them.
Judge, I am going to object. That refreshing memory is one thing. The way you do that is to say, well, A, the witness has to say, I don't remember. B, you say, if I showed you something, would you remember? Or would it aid you to remember? The witness has to say yes. I mean, this, so, yes, objection.
All right. Overruled. You may continue, Mr. Alderman.
So, Mr. Kuhn, you previously said that he was refusing to take the kids, or to watch the kids, correct?
In here? Yes.
Yes, sir. That's what you told the police, correct?
Yes.
That he was refusing to watch the kids.
He was also threatening to take them.
He was doing both?
All I knew is he was threatening to take them.
Okay, and refusing to watch them.
Refusing. He was. I don't understand if he takes them. How's he not? I mean, maybe his parents would
I don't
watch them.
understand either. That's why I'm asking.
This interview was highly inappropriate to my belief because I was not told about it. I was in the gym at 6 a.m. and a police officer told me, I'm here waiting to meet you. I was never given any call, confirmation, anything. I had no idea what was going on. He just called me and told me he landed in Avoca from Florida with no knowledge or anything. I couldn't even get in touch with my sister's attorneys. I don't know if she had attorneys at that time. I had no idea what was going on other than 2 police officers with no phone calls told me they were in my city and had to meet me, and I didn't even know if that was appropriate or what was going on. I was at a complete loss.
Okay, so you think you should get advance notice before being interviewed about a murder case?
I don't.
Overruled.
I'm a professional with a small business. My time belongs to my clients and my family. I would like to know. Yes, I book appointments.
Okay. Now let's get back on track. The detectives show up, and according to your statement there, you tell them he's refusing to watch the kids, correct? That's what you told the detectives.
Yes.
Now you're also saying he wanted to kidnap the kids.
My testimony is that he was kidnapping the kids. Like I said, I was not in a good state of mind when those detectives showed up. I was everywhere and nowhere. Unprofessionalism was quite shocking to me.
Okay, so is there a reason you told them that Bree was telling you he's refusing to watch the children?
I have no idea because on the phone call, she said that he was kidnapping them, very specifically.
Okay, so why did you tell the detectives that he was refusing to watch them?
I just said a few times, I was completely shell-shocked. I don't know if you've ever been bombarded with surprise, but I don't know where my head was at when these detectives came.
Okay, and the issue was about you coming down to watch the kids, is that right?
She wanted me to watch the kids, be there when she had the surgery so that he could not take them.
Okay. And did she use the word kidnap, or is that your word?
When I gave my deposition, I said kidnap.
I'm not asking about the deposition. I'm asking kidnap.
I know. I'm trying to give you
You finish
context. I don't know. At that time, I said kidnap, but I don't believe a parent can technically kidnap their own kids.
That
At
wasn't my
that point, when
question,
I was
sir.
interviewed, I said the wrong word, I believe.
If you listen to my question was, kidnap her word or your word?
Mine, she said take.
She said take. Okay, you said kidnap. Okay. You understand a parent can't kidnap their own children, correct?
I just said that, yes.
So why did you use the word kidnap before?
I don't know. I just said that. After reflection, I think that was the wrong word.
Okay.
Wasn't under subpoena, but yes, sir, he can.
Okay. All right, sir, you may step down. You're now excused.
Thank you, sir. Do these stay here?
Mr. Alderman, do you need to get the,
Yes, I'll grab 'em.
okay.
Well, then as much as him being excused, because it is important, so he can stay in the courtroom then.
Is any objection to that, Mr. Alderman? Okay. All right, y'all approach, please. All right, members of the jury, we need to take a short recess. It'll probably be, for y'all, probably about a 20-minute recess. And please leave your notepads and pens underneath your chairs. And do not discuss the case among yourselves, and we'll have you back in here momentarily, okay?
Please rise for the jury.
Okay, and for us in the courtroom, we'll do a 15-minute recess, and so we'll be back in here, let's just say about 2:10. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Stand for the judge, please.
be seated. So I need to wait for the attorneys.
I apologize. They just asked to speak back to her again in the interview.
Okay,
Mr. Altman stepped out too, but they're with her in the interview again.
okay. Well, then I will step off and then just let me know when they get here. I'll just be in the back hallway. Okay.
Please rise for the judge. Thank you.
Okay, everybody can be seated. What? Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Judge, for the time.
All right. So who's going to be the defense next witness?
Bree Kuhn?
Okay. So, Ms. Kuhn, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm to tell me the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, Ms. Kuhn, my understanding is you are going to take the witness stand. Is that correct? All right. Have you had sufficient time to talk to your attorneys about this decision? Have they explained to you the pros and cons about testifying? Have they explained to you the pros and cons about not testifying? Have they answered all your questions about this decision? Do you have any more questions for them about this decision? Have you had any drugs or alcohol in the last 24 hours? No. Okay. And you understand what you're going to be doing is that you will be able to go on the witness stand. You will have to, you will answer questions from your attorney, but the state will also have the right to cross-examine you. Do you understand that? Okay. Do you understand if you didn't testify, I would give the jury an instruction that lets them know they cannot hold that against you? Do you understand that? That I would give them an instruction that the fact that a defendant chose not to testify should not be viewed as any admission of guilt. Yes. And just to be more specific, if you did not take the witness stand, you would be entitled to this jury instruction. The jury instruction is this: the Constitution requires the state to prove its accusations against the defendant. It is not necessary for the defendant to disprove anything, nor is the defendant required to prove her innocence. It is up to the state to prove the defendant's guilt by evidence. The defendant exercised a fundamental right by choosing not to be a witness in this case. You must not view this as an admission of guilt or be influenced in any way by her decision. No juror should ever be concerned that the defendant did or did not take the witness stand to give testimony in a case. So if you chose not to testify, you would be entitled to that instruction. Do you understand that? Sure. Mr. Barnes, Mr. Harris, would y'all like to go back into the witness room, the interview room, or?
Simple question. But no for this second, but if you could give.
Sure.
Another minute. No testimony from Ms. Kuhn, Judge. It is going to necessitate me to have a few words with my expert. If you want to run through that colloquy, I don't necessarily need to be here. I'm trying to save time. Because if you run through the colloquy and then I say Dr. Harper, I need to have a word with Dr. Harper in light of where we are. It's not going to be more than 5 minutes.
Okay. Y'all approach. Okay. What we're going to do is, we're going to be in recess for an additional 20 minutes. And if court security can let the jury know that that they won't be, we're still they're still handling some matters here. And then I will step off, give you that case, and then y'all can review that, and then I'll come back in, and then perhaps we'll be ready to go through the colloquy at that time.
Yes, sir.
Okay? All right.
Thank you. Please rise for the judge.